YouTube, how's it going? Nate Great 321 back again with part 2 of my Battlefield retrospective. If you haven't watched part 1, I suggest you go ahead and do that. In that one, I talk about my history with the first half of the Battlefield series, Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 2, and Battlefield 2142, and some Battlefield Vietnam. But in this video, I'm going to focus on what I consider the second half, Bad Company, Bad Company 2, and the recently released Battlefield 3. But let's go ahead and just start with Bad Company, which is an interesting game, for good and bad reasons, I think. This came out in 2008, and there was a mildly successful game called Call of Duty 4 that came out late 2007, which completely blew the lid off of first-person shooters on consoles for sure. That game was wildly successful. I loved it. I still love that game. And now everyone went away from PC basically and just said, look, consoles are where it's at. That's where the money's at. We all have to be Call of Duty. That was the new standard for first-person shooters, modern shooters. And so now they're coming out a dime a dozen. Everyone's trying to be Call of Duty, trying to beat Call of Duty. No one could. And the only franchise that really had any sort of long history, that had a built-in audience that clamored for kind of modern war, the largest one, at least in my opinion, was the Battlefield crowd. And so we were all kind of left wondering, where's the next Battlefield game? Where's Battlefield 3? Like, what's going on here? And so then when they announced a game, Battlefield Bad Company, that has a heavy campaign mode. Prior to this, no other Battlefield game had a real campaign mode. They had a single-player mode, which is basically multiplayer with bots, which was fine. I mean, they focused on multiplayer, and they did multiplayer really well. So why add the single-player? It's pointless. But this game added it, because Call of Duty 4 had such a, high-intensity single-player campaign. Now, Battlefield needed one. But they made it focus on a squad of soldiers, 4 different soldiers. And it was sort of like lighthearted and comedic. Like, it was... they had a bunch of jokes thrown in and things like that. All the previews were kind of making fun of other games, which was kind of funny. They had ones making fun of like Gears of War and Metal Gear Solid 4, which was pretty amusing. But it was just so hard to believe this was Battlefield. This was, Battlefield 2, the epic war game that I, come up with. And now they're reducing it to a sort of console Call of Duty clone, which was a little worrying. But I played the demo for this on PS3 when it came out. I didn't have a 360 at the time, so I only had a PS3. And I don't know. I had mixed feelings about it. It was fun. It was cool to see a Battlefield game on the console. I never thought that it would really make the transition to the next gen, console-wise at least. But it was good to see that. It was kind of neat. It was, at the time, my laptop it was only a couple years old, but it was, technology moves pretty fast, so... it was a little outdated, and even if this had come out on PC, it would have been a little bit of a struggle to get that to work. So I was glad to see it come out to console. It made it a little more sort of available to the majority, to everybody out there. But they left out one huge thing for me in this game. Conquest mode, the only mode that I played or cared about. All they had was the rush mode in this game, which... it was kind of fun for a little while, it was something different, something to play. But then after, the first, 20 times playing Rush mode, I'm wondering, it's like, I kind of want to play Conquest mode. This is a Battlefield game. I should play Conquest, right? And a lot of people felt that way because people were complaining about it. And eventually they did add Conquest mode to this, but it was like a patch down the road, which sort of describes this game. It sort of exemplifies how this game was to me. It didn't really feel like to me, it's surprising it's even in the same conversation as Battlefield 2 or 1942. It just seems like such a different game to me. Not a bad game by any means. Pretty cool. The destruction, I almost forgot to mention that. They had a new, the Frostbite engine was basically an engine that lets you destroy objects in real time, in the real world. If people were behind cover, you could destroy cover. If people were in a building, you could blow a hole in the side of the building. You could collapse the building, which was really cool. That was awesome. I love that. That's one of the favorite things I like about Bad Company and Battlefield 3, the destruction. It's really cool. It adds a whole nother level to the sort of strategy and everything about it. But yeah, for the most part, they introduced some cool tech in this game. Some interesting concepts, but for the most part, not my favorite of the whole Battlefield series for sure. But that's sort of how it goes. They have to sort of follow the leader, and Call of Duty was the leader, so this was the way they go. So, I mean, I don't even think that came out on PC. It might have, but I don't think it did. So after that, where yet again the real fans are sort of left. Where is Battlefield going to go from here? They're going to stick to consoles, or are they going to go back to the PC crowd, because they have a really loyal PC crowd, the Battlefield series does, and I think a lot of you who have sort of followed Battlefield 3, you've sort of seen the good and bad side of that, the sort of elitist PC crowd out there. Not all of them are like that, I play on PC, I'm not like that, but a lot of people are, and sort of they take their PC gaming very seriously, and Battlefield is one of those franchises they really held dear, and to see it sort of give in to the Call of Duties of the world was a little disheartening. And then later on, when did Modern Warfare 2 came out? I want to say 2009, something like that, late 2009. Yeah, I think that's right. Around like September, October 2009. And again, another huge game, huge launch, fun game, I buy it. Whereas I played Call of Duty 4 for a long time after it launched, I got pretty sick and tired of Modern Warfare 2 a couple months after it launched. I'd say by Christmas time, I was fed up with it. Maybe January at the latest. So many people just exploited the game, and it's a lot of cheats going on and things like that. It just wasn't as fun to me. It was still cool. I still like it, but it was just, I don't know. It didn't have the longevity of the first game. Probably, it wasn't as novel anymore. It was sort of improved, but kind of the same routine, whereas Call of Duty 4 was just a whole new experience. But anyway, enough Call of Duty. So, Call of Duty game comes out, yet again, a couple months later, another Bad Company game comes out, Bad Company 2. And I think for the most part, they listened to a lot of the complaints from the original Bad Company in this game. Conquest mode was there from the start. Maps were pretty wide open. They were kind of a Bad Company, but these feel a step in the right direction towards the sort of traditional Battlefield 2 and 1942 maps, to me at least. Graphics were fantastic. Graphics look really good. And to me, it just sort of handled differently than Call of Duty. The gunplay felt different. Everything about it is just a completely different feel. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for something fresh, something different, and this sort of scratched that itch. And, being a Battlefield fan, I didn't anticipate getting this day one, but leading up to it, I read previews and stuff and said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. And I'm glad I did. Well, we played this a ton. This was a really fun game. Took the place of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, that's for sure. Played this a ton, and the destruction in the game, again, was really good. The vehicle play was really good. The infantry combat felt nice. There was a kind of cool variety of maps. There was like snow levels and desert levels and forest levels and things like that. Whereas the other game was really kind of all desert. But this one was nice. Very good game. I enjoyed it for a couple months really, and then I'd say in the summer, after I graduated and everything, I moved, and after that, I sort of lost interest. I was working a lot of hours, so I sort of lost interest in this. Black Ops came out. I kind of played that for a while, but really from that summer of 2010 up until almost a year later, there wasn't really a first-person shooter I had that I played a ton. That was probably the first time that's happened in a long time. It's one of probably my favorite genre of games this generation, first-person shooters, and it sort of felt weird. I didn't have a FPS that I could play a lot. I don't know what happened. Black Ops was okay, but I was waiting for that next Battlefield game. And actually, what I ended up doing, I knew Battlefield 3 was coming out, so I wanted to spend good money on a good gaming computer because I was still using that same laptop I bought in 2006, which in computer terms is ancient, unfortunately. But it couldn't run crap. It sucked. The hard drive I had to reformat multiple times. It was just more trouble than it was worth. I said, you know what? I'm just going to splurge. I'm going to go all in on a gaming computer. I could have gone more all in. I could have spent a couple $1,000 more, but I don't have that much money. So, but I still spent a pretty good amount on the computer I have. Very satisfied with it, by the way. Very good computer. And all of that, most of that, because I knew this game was coming out. And before I get to this, though, I ended up getting Battlefield Bad Company 2 on PC. It was on sale on Steam during the summer sales for like $10 with the Vietnam expansion pack. It completely reinvigorated the game for me. It was just a whole new experience playing it on PC with playing it in 1080p, and on the level of detail you get on PC is a lot better than you get on the 360. And that sort of just, reinvigorated my love for the game. It brought me back to playing on the good old keyboard and mouse like it did back in the day. And it felt, even though it was a console port, it felt like a true Battlefield experience. So that really brought it back to me. And I played that a ton. Just from the summer, I must have bought it in like June or maybe July. I mean, I played it all the way up until just a week ago when I was waiting for this game to come out. I mean, it really held up, even though I played it a ton back when it was on 360. But anyway, yesterday was the day I was waiting for, October 25th, 2011. I was counting down the days till this came out, and it actually sort of snuck up on me quick. October was a fast month for me with work and everything, and before I even knew it, it was here. I was amazed that it was finally here. Got home from work, I had Amazon ship it to me, release day delivery. Picked it up at the front desk of my apartment complex, and patiently awaited the long install. It took a long time to install, unfortunately, but such a beautiful game. The graphics in this game, I can't even begin to describe how awesome they look. The lighting effects especially, I mean, just going in a room and having rays of light come in and things like that. And it's not even those little set pieces, it's just little things you notice. Like, let's say you're taking a control point and you're sort of laying on the floor in a sort of like bunker kind of thing, let's say. And then you hear a tank coming outside, and suddenly it blows open the wall, and suddenly the whole room's filled with light, and there's debris falling everywhere, and it's just such an immersive experience. And they've done a fantastic job with the sound. You get a nice pair of headphones on with this game, you're totally immersed in this game. You hear rockets whizzing past you, you hear bullets like taking chips off the wall, and there's debris and smoke going on around you. It's just an unbelievable experience. It's completely worth it, and the hype for this game was pretty big, and I did my best to sort of limit my hype, but Battlefield's my favorite franchise of all time. Of course I'm going to be hyped for this game. And personally, I do believe that this game does live up to the hype I put into it. Some people may be disappointed. That's their right. They can be disappointed. I love it. From what I've played so far in the multiplayer, I can tell this game is probably going to occupy quite a few hours from here on out. That's saying a lot because there's a ton of good games coming out even in the next couple of weeks. Uncharted and Skyrim being the two big ones for me. But this game is fantastic, really good game. Campaign, again, sort of typical Call of Duty campaign, just, oh, there's terrorists, oh, they stole a nuke, oh, you have to stop them. You've heard it before. But it's a good way to sort of show off a lot of the graphics and things like that. They've done a great job in this game, multiplayer-wise, of giving even more variety to the maps. There's a night map, Tehran Highway, which is pretty cool. There's a map that takes place in the rain, which is awesome. At Grand Bazaar, which I think that's becoming the more popular map I've noticed out of a lot of them. But Grand Bazaar is pretty cool. But the rain effects, everything about the game looks great. I'm not even playing it on the highest detail. I'm playing it on high. I haven't tried Ultra, but high plays well and looks great, so I'm going for that. I'll take steady frame rate. That's my priority, really. But I can't recommend this game enough. This really makes the whole thing come full circle to me. This blends the best parts of the old school games, the Battlefield 2s, things like that, and brings in the new tech from the Bad Company games and the things they've learned. And I've noticed that those two audiences, at times they clash, but the old school Battlefielders like myself, I consider myself an old school Battlefield player, them and the people that have just found out about the game through games like Bad Company, that they had never heard of this franchise before. We're all coming together, and it's bringing so many eyes to this franchise that truly deserves it. It's my favorite all time, honestly, and I'm glad that this game is getting the hype that it's getting, because that means that Battlefield, the franchise that I love, is still fresh in people's minds, and people are anticipating it, love it, and unfortunately, I think they've kind of positioned themselves as the anti-Call of Duty, and I think people are liking it for that reason too, which I don't really agree with that marketing hype, and you're seeing the result of that. It's kind of falling flat on its face because it's positioning itself as the not Call of Duty instead of just the Battlefield. This game stands up perfectly fine by itself. You don't get this kind of destruction and tech and wide open battlefields and vehicles and things like that in Call of Duty. It should stand up on its own. I think it does. So I wouldn't be worried too much about that. If it sounds appealing to you, give it a shot. On console as well too. I mean I haven't personally played the console versions, but give them a shot. Give any Battlefield game a shot. But yeah, this will conclude my Battlefield retrospective. I gotta get back to playing this. So this is my 101st video, sort of a continuation of my 100th video. So again, I'll just say thanks guys for sticking by me here through thick and thin. Videos may not be as often as they were in the past, but you know, stuff happens. You know, I work a full-time job now, whereas I didn't in college, obviously. So things change. I'm not finding as many retro games as I was in the past. You know, it happens. I'm still looking, but I still try to put out videos and try to entertain you guys. And as long as I get people keep watching, I'll keep making them. So until I get 0 views on a video, I'll probably keep going. So whether you like it or not, I'm going to keep making videos. So thanks for watching, guys. My Battlefield retrospective. And for now, make it 3, 2, 1. Signing out.